is going to be to get all my books from all the different locations and put them up there on those shelves. And I'm taking down Elvis, taking down everybody else. Books will be on my bookcase.
Well, I
Starting in
finally did
January.
that. I
I'm
finally
sorry.
did that. As I
You
finally
did
did
that?
that, I put all my books up in the bookshelf over there. You can't see it because it's off to the side. But they were on top of my bar. They was on top of my record cabinet over here. They
Yeah,
was
that's
piled up
exactly how
all over the
mine are.
place. Yeah.
Yeah,
Finally, I
we don't have
stacked
enough
them.
room for enough bookshelves for all the books that we have. I had a good 1,300 volumes before I married an English major.
Oh, yeah, I've got several of Roger's books. So, yeah, good stuff. Okay, Amy, it is after 7. You're already recording it, I see. So, good job. So welcome. This is Monday, the 14th of December. So we're moving on out here. And James is our speaker tonight. He's going to talk about Ingram Spark. And then, Amy, do we have anyone for who's on Author Talk next week? Do you have that lined up already?
Yes, I do. So next week is the recording that is of Matthew, the Texas Sister Press author. His book is The Fuzzy Sock That Went on Deployment. And on the 28th is Kate Beaters. And then I got some more in January.
And then what's going on the next 2 Monday nights? You have that scheduled yet, or is that up
Well,
for grabs?
so next week I figured we would take off because that's the week of Christmas and I'll be at my mom's. And then the 28th, I actually had a speaker that was going to talk to us about getting into Kroger stores and how to do all that. But I'm in the process of seeing if they can move it since some people, want to take off or whatever. That way you won't miss any information. So
That guy's named Ray.
yes.
Yes, it is. I talked with him this past week. I'm not going to sign up for that.
So do you know him, Red?
No, I met him through another person, Diane Beam, I think.
Yeah, that's who introduced me to him.
And so we had about a 30-minute conversation, talked about it, and he sent me all the paperwork for it. It sounds pretty good, and I'm going to take advantage of it.
Nice.
Now, James, do you guys have Kroger stores in your area?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, then that is
That's very
definitely
interesting.
something, because several years ago, I don't even remember how many years ago it was. Roger, did you ever participate in the Kroger program?
I don't think I did, no.
Because Rita was the one that really got me started with it. But there was a person who, an author, who wanted to do. He happened to be, I don't know. He stumbled on it, and he got permission from the Kroger people to have authors come in on the weekends. And I mean, we had some people that that sold a lot of books, but we also had some people that didn't sell any. So it's the same as it's still requires effort on your part. My mother-in-law, God rest her soul, who she went in there one day and she goes, I am not going to try to trip people as they come in the grocery store to get them to buy a book. So you didn't have to do that, but you did have to, you couldn't just sit there either, because nobody's going to come over and say, well, what you got going on. So, but there is a program, and Kroger has blessed it. And you just have to get your book. You just have to have them approve the book. So as long as you don't have a book, I don't even know what kind of books they would not approve, but they love fiction books. They love children's books. They love adult nonfiction books. So, and that Rox, can you hear me? Rox, are you part of the Kroger? Are you part of the Kroger thing? Have you ever done that?
I have done it, but it's been a couple of years. I didn't have the success. I had success at one location in Arlington.
So a lot of it will depend, of course, on the store, because
Right.
there are some Kroger stores where people are not going to buy books. And there's some where, and it's not necessarily, doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the neighborhood and the cost of living there or anything. It's just.
Yeah, he sold 4,000 of his own books with the same program.
Who did?
This guy that's going to talk about it.
And what is his name, Red?
Gray something or other, Depew or something like that. I can't remember.
Okay, so I'm not, it's moved on from when I was involved.
No,
So
he's up in
anyway,
New Jersey or someplace. But
so James, I think for you guys, David, that's right, you're in Cleveland. So do you have Kroger stores where you live?
I think Kroger moved out of this area about 40 years ago.
40 years
They're,
ago.
they're in like central and southern Ohio, but they left northern Ohio decades ago.
There's a few here. I mean, there's not a whole lot. There used to be more, but Food Lion is kind of like pushing them out, and of course Walmart, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there
There's
are
no Kroger's here in California.
And Zach, not Freddy Kroger. That'd be Freddy.
Yeah.
Always the comedian, Zach. Okay, so anybody have any announcement before we turn this over to James and the Ingram Spark? Jeremy.
Yeah, it's not really an announcement, but I did have a great meeting this morning with an organization, a UK based, but they have people all over the planet, organization that does, I wish I could use their words. The words that are coming to my head is like mass copy marketing, but that's done with knowing the ins and outs of the algorithms that work on every single platform and able to print and produce, meaning publish and produce articles from the big heavy hitter platforms, like many of the news channels, Fox, ABC, NBC. And they all do it from, it's a one centralized thing. So you fill out a form when you want copies sent out on all of your stuff. And then they put together videos, they put together all of the stuff, and they put it out there. So there's other companies like this one that I've also come across, but I actually met with this one because they have blown up in the last 6 months, like huge. And I've been watching them blow up. And so much so that they're not taking a whole lot of clients. So I had a meeting with them. I'm definitely going to use their service. So what I wanted to say, I'm not going to use it probably till the end of January. It's not overly priced, so I say, for what they do. So it's called Amplifier is the name of the company. AMPI, Amplifier, the word fire.
F-I-E-R, Amplifier?
AMP, Amplifier.
Okay.
And I mean, really just hitting it on all levels. They've put together a great team from all parts of mostly UK, Australia, and United States. But there's been other places too that they have folks. And I just think that they have just the cleanest package to be able to deliver on this stuff. And the result stuff that I had researched before I met and that they showed me after we met was hit the nail on the head for what I want to do with Planet Bound. And I was just in my head, I'm listening to all this going, oh my gosh, authors who are really investing in themselves, because it definitely is something you're going to chunk out for like 17 amps, which if you're doing 2 a month, that'll last you, what, half a month or so. And to get really good results, you're going to look at 2 a month. 1 a month will still get you results, but it's going to take time, maybe second year of doing it once a month. But regardless, it's about, it's like a $36,000 a month or $36,000 for those 17 amps, but they have like the crazy deal stuff going on. So it's about $5,000 for those 17 amps, which only comes to like less than $100 an amp. So I mean, that's pretty crazy good pricing. And I know that's figuratively a lot of money though, but if you're folding it into your expenses, however you're choosing to do it. Anyway, I'm going to do it come January, and then I'll come back to the team once I've done it and I've seen actual results and stuff, and then I'll talk to you guys about it. We'll do like a Monday night of what the process is and what it looks like, and whether I think it would be really good. Yeah, I will, for sure, okay. Sandy.
Because I'm not finding it, just doing a search.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll get it from my email because I was.
Okay.
So yeah, once I find out what it actually, in using it, then I'll come back and say, hey.
Yeah, because I'm right now not understanding. I don't understand right now what's the AMP doing? What is that? How does that?
So once I'm filling out the form, it's then going through all things. They make copy from it. So they make video, articles, posts, etc. from this form that I fill out on whatever I'm trying to sell at the time. So in our case, books. and then they'll create all of this content, and then it goes out on all of those platforms. Then they have it published on big names like Fox. So what it allows is for Google to build this like framework of trust for you. So it's using Google's how Google works their system, so that you get, when people search for books of your type or books with words that are the keywords for this, that you've moved up the Google charts and you're on first page, at least first page, if not first choice. I mean, all their clients, the research that I did before, and then when I met with them too, the clients that they're using right now that are going to them like crazy, they are on the whole first page, and most of the second page is just them when you Google anything about the type of stuff that they do.
Nice.
It sounds interesting. I can't wait to find out about it.
Yeah.
So, James, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so we're going to turn it over to James. I am going to put you on speaker view because that was a suggestion from someone, and I thought that was a great one. So, James, you are on. James is going to talk to us about Ingram Spark.
Okay. So this is for everybody who wants to publish their own book or who have been trying to publish their book. I know Julie said she went through Ingram Spark to put some of her books out. And let me first start by saying, before I published anybody else's books, me and Nina published our own books. But we figured, try and true, fail on your own stuff first. You learn a lot more from your mistakes than you ever do from your successes. So before we would touch anybody else's book and put anybody else's stuff out there, we wanted to make sure we worked through all of the things and found out what we were doing right, what we were doing wrong on ourselves. And trust me, we did quite a few things wrong. We republished our book 2 or 3 times, some of them because we made mistakes and learned from those mistakes. So before we went out and did other people, we did our own. And I have 4 books out. Athena has 4 books out. So that's half of our category, of our catalog, is our own books. And we did about, I think, 3 or 4 of them of our own books before. And before that, we published our own books. Our books were published by Exlibrius. And that's how I wound up getting into publishing, because I put my books out by Exlibrius. And anybody who doesn't know what Exlibrius is, they're a vanity press, pretty much. That's what they do. And so everything that you do with them, you pay for. Editing, book covers, anything you do, you're paying for it. Because and they don't really do anything. They'll take whatever you got. And I have read some horrible things coming out of Exlibrius, books that they published. And I mean misspellings, bad formats, because they'll publish anything as long as you pay them. So once I went through them and seen how the process worked and found out who they went to publish the book, I then said, okay, I don't need them. I can do it myself. And I can go through Ingram and I can publish a book. And I got information from the people at Ingram. I met them at one of the books. I think it was in Chicago. Anyway, at one of the book fairs and stuff like that I went to. It wasn't Miami. I think it was in Chicago that I actually met them, or in New York, and sat down and talked with them for about a good 2 hours, because I had to have the guy explain to me exactly what I was doing wrong. And so I sat down with the Ingram people and had him explain to me what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong, why I had to set up some of the things I had to set up the way that they said. For example, the discounts. Why did I have to put up 55% discount on a book? And because that's what Amazon wants. And I knew something about retail, about selling and stuff like that. But basically, when you're selling your book, you want the bookstore to carry your book, they have to be able to make a profit. Okay? So you have to give it to them at a discount in order for them to put it out on the shelf and be able to discount it. Because if they can't sell it for full price, they're going to want to knock it down and discount it. But if you only give them a 10 or 20% discount, they're not going to be able to discount that book any and still make a profit. So that's why it's like 50%. And you can go higher and lower, but if everybody else is doing 55% and you want to do your book at 25%, guess who book is not being picked up and sold by anybody? So it's just basic business, as they say, it's just business. So I learned all of these things over the years. And like I said, some of it through trial and error, some of it through actually talking to the people and finding out exactly what was supposed to be done and how it's supposed to be done. So I'm going to share my screen because I have slideshows from David's book, because David was the last one we did. And as we were doing, after I actually did book, and this is, I think, when I was starting to do your large print book, either your large print book or when I was doing the hardcover book, that I started taking screenshots so I can do this. So let me share my screen. And that is down here, okay. And we want to share with screen, this one. Yeah. Well, I see all these different screens. Okay, let's see if that's the right one. Yeah. And then share. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, so it says Ingram Publishing. All right, so I started with how you would actually go in and set this up. So once you log into Ingram, and you have to set up an account with them and everything, and that's basically your email address and your password. Just go in there and set that up. Like for anything else, you give them an email address and a password, and that's how you get in. Okay, but when you start your book, now there's a couple of screens here, and this is from their help screen. So the first thing you do when you get ready to set up a title, you go to this help screen, and you'll see pricing and how to set up the cover, how to set up the pricing. There's some links here. So right here it said cover template generator. Okay. You see under the prices and calculator, they tell you how much it costs to actually print a book, how much you would get from your book, what your compensation is, depending upon how you price the book. So that's how you figure out what price you're going to set your book at. You also want to do some research out in the world to see if your books are coming out too high or too low or whatever. But one thing Ingram will not let you do, it won't let you set a price where you go negative, So you can't set a price for like $20 for a book if it costs you $25 to print it. They're not going to let that happen. So you'll always be able to set the price of the book to a point where at least they can print it and everything like that. So this is the first place you go. You click on some of these things and it'll tell you how much to go and how to set up the cover. Now, I learned the first thing you want to do is after you format your book and everything, you find out how many pages it is, then go and build the cover, then get your cover made. Because you can't make a cover without knowing how thick the spine is.
Yep.
And the thickness of the spine is determined by how many pages there are in the book. So next one. Okay, so cover setup. Now, they have changed this over the years. So this is their new setup now. And basically what it is you have, as you can see, there's red asterisks around everything that you have to fill in. So you want to fill in the trim size. In this case, it's a 6x9. It's a black and white interior. It says here, its binding type is hardcover, digital cloth, glossy for the book cover page. And then, like I said, have to have a page count. And it has to be, I don't know if you could read it, but it says between 18 and I don't know, something 100 words. But it has to be even amounts. When you set up your book, you always have to have an even amount. And if you think about it, it's because you need a front page and a back page. So when you start thinking about putting together your book, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. And if you just go to any book, you open it up, you'll always see the left-hand side of the page. Oh, the right-hand side of the page is the odd number. The right-hand side of the page is the even number because it's actually the back of the right-hand page. So you always have to have even numbers. Now, I do mine in PDF forms. Now, this is for the book cover. They allow you to do it in several different ones. They have InDesign, they have PDF, and they have some other format, IDML or something like that. InDesign is really tricky. And when you see an InDesign book cover format, and they're all pretty much the same thing that they're trying to tell you, which is the cut marks, the bleed marks. Julie, when you say, do you know about bleed mark? Yes. When you do an InDesign cover and you do it, they'll always tell you what the bleed marks are, what the fold marks are, all that kind of stuff. If I do them in PDF, it's a really clean format. I can read that really well. InDesign is a tricky program anyway to go through, but when you do it as a PDF, you're going to get an email file template, and that's going to tell you where everything falls on that book cover. And if you're doing it in the PDF, it's just a very clean file format, and you can just put everything on it, and you'll see that in the coming slides. And then, of course, my email address, price of the book, which, as you can see, the last couple of things are not necessary. But if you're going to sell your book in like Barnes and Noble, as we were talking about the other day, you're going to want to put the price of the book in there. You're going to want to, usually, we do them in US dollar because we're the US. Now here it says price in barcode. Now, you don't have to put the price in the barcode. And the one reason why they told me you don't want to put the price in the barcode is if you need to change the price of the book. Let's say you put your book out, you're going to run it at one price for 6 months. And then after your 6-month time, you're going to drop it down. You're going to discount your own book and drop it down. Well, if you put the price in the barcode, you're going to have to reprint the cover. If you don't put a price in the barcode, and if you get some time, take a look at the back of any book. You see 9,000 or 9 whatever it is up there. That means there's no price on that barcode. At the very right-hand corner of that barcode, it'll always have 90000, something like that. That means there's no price. If you see any other numbers at the right end, the right top corner of that barcode, that's the price. And it usually starts off with a 5. And the 5 is the $, I think, in US. So if you ever when you go to the bookstore, you flip over the back of the book, look at the barcode. If you're in Barnes and Noble, you need a price on it. You need a barcode, you need a price. Let's see, the next one. Okay, this is kind of hard to see, but this is how the file comes down to you when they email you the file. And I'm opening this up in Photoshop. So, and this is why I do PDFs, because when it comes down, I can open up a PDF in Photoshop and it's really easy to work with. Now, these settings are usually done when you open up this file in Photoshop. It'll have the IBSN number because that's how you set it up with the IBSN number. This says jacket because it's a hardcover, and you'll see that when on the next screen when it lays out. And then these are the widths, inches, resolution, all that kind of stuff. CMYK color scheme is an actual color scheme. There's a couple of different ones. But any color scheme that you want to put in there, usually use the CMYK in Ingram. It's a basic color scheme, and they know how to set it up. And so I would stick with that color scheme. If you set it up somewhere else, it might get rejected, or it might not come out looking the way you want to. And this is the 4 different colors, I believe, that what the CMYK stand for. Okay, this is how the file looks when they email it to you. So once you're in, again, I'm in Photoshop doing this, but this is how the file looks when it comes to you. The blue area here is the bleed marks. So when you put in pictures and everything, whatever you do, you want to cover it all the way out to cover all the blue. What's inside the pink is what's actually going to print on the book cover. Anything inside that print, that pink is definitely going to show up on the cover. Okay, so, and as you can see, the barcode is there. When you do it, they automatically put the barcode in. And so everything inside the pink, this is the front flap, this is the back flap, this is the front cover, this is the back cover. You can always tell because the barcode gonna be on the back cover. And this is your spine. And down here, you'll see the measurements for each one of these pieces. So the measurements show up down here. All of this is done for you when you download this file. All of it is done there. It's all marked up for you. And you can't, I don't know, don't think y'all can really see it, but there's actually cut lines on this too. And the cut lines tell you where it's going to cut off on this file. When they actually print it, it's going to be cut, and it's usually cut just below the pink and just above the pink, and then off the side. So you'll see all the cut lines, and what you do is you lay out your images on this backdrop. And you make sure that the images, whatever you want, that you want to make sure, title, names, all that kind of stuff, you make sure they wind up inside the pink area. So you take images, and you'll see it on the next slide. You take your images and you overlay them on the pink. And you make sure they go a little bit over into the blue. Basically, what I do a lot of times is I'll make one backdrop, which is one solid color, like a black. And I'll make sure that black covers the entire blue area. And the reason for that, or white, or whatever color you want to make the book. And the reason for that, because anything that's in that blue might wind up on your cover. And if you don't cover the blue all the way, you'll get a white line across your cover. Because let's say your image only comes down to, not quite covering all the blue, but you don't cover the part where it cuts off at, where the cut mark is going to be. Well, that's going to leave a white line when they print it, because the paper they're printed on is white. So you'll see a white line there. So the thing to do is you figure out, like on the screen before, we've seen it with 24 inches long. You make an image that's 24 inches long by whatever it was high, 12 inches or whatever it was. And you make one solid color at that size. You overlay it on top of this. Now, what I do is I make a duplicate of this layer. In Photoshop, the very first thing I do is I duplicate the first layer. And that way I can overlay this on top of whatever I put on this layer. And then there's things to do, which is you make the opaqueness less, like I make it at 25%. So you can see the images shining through the layer you lay on top. So you can always see what's going on. Like I said, after making very many mistakes trying to do this, I realized I can't see the pink once I put something on it. And I don't know if the words skipped over the top a little bit, if they're a little bit too far to the left, a little bit too. So by duplicating the layer and then reducing the opaqueness, I can then put whatever I want on this, and then put the second layer on top, and I can make it show. You see the little eyeball up here. If you click on the eyeball, then it makes it visible or invisible. So when I have my duplicate layer laid on top and I start putting images on the screen, then I can turn on and off the duplicate layer, and I can see what it looks like when it's all done and what it would look like when it's not all done. So let's go to the next screen. And here you see the next screen, and you see the pink that's showing through it. That's the duplicate layer that I created, copied, and laid on top. And I see David smiling because he said, oh yeah, that's my book. But as you can notice, the name at the top, it falls in the pink. The writing on the side falls in the pink. Everything that's going to show up that need to be on that book cover, that needs to show, is inside the pink. And the reason why I can see it, that's inside the pink, because the very top layer, and this is all Photoshop, this is not really Ingram, this is all Photoshop, is because I duplicated the layer, I put it over top of everything else that I put on the screen, and then I can see it. So I can see what shines through that layer. And I can see everything lines up nicely, see where all the lines are, all that kind of stuff. Then we go down to the next one.
James, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What about people that don't do Photoshop?
You can still do the PDFs, but you could do it in PDF. You could do it in Adobe, but Adobe also owns Photoshop.
Right.
So
Right.
if you have Adobe, you probably have Photoshop. If not, you can get just Photoshop as a
I mean, I
as a
have
download.
Photoshop, but I don't know how to use Photoshop.
Well,
So, Amy,
I-
what did we do? Amy, what did we do Teresa's book in before you put it on Ingram? Was it? It wasn't in Photoshop, was it?
No. When
Or
I-
PDF? Was it PDF?
it was, yeah, she sent me the Word document and then it was a PDF and then I just moved things around as I was uploading it into their like thing on Amazon and moved it.
Yeah, the thing is that this is the template. So however you put your images or however you put stuff on the template, is you can do it in PDF and do it. Like I said, you could do it in InDesign. InDesign that's way more complicated than Photoshop. If you have trouble with Photoshop, I will stay away from InDesign because that is a bear to work through. And I'll talk about that a little later too.
Okay.
But that's why I
Well,
do it in Photoshop. Yes.
real quick, James. So, Sandy, if you're just having the cover created for you, this is that template is what I know people were talking about. Oh my gosh, my illustrator didn't even know about Bleed. If you are doing through Ingram and you're having this template, give that template to your illustrator for your cover, and then they have the template of what they're going to put on there.
Yeah, I was
Right.
asking just for all of the people that might not know Photoshop and what do they do? If you don't know Photoshop and you don't know how to do this, but yet you want to get your book on Ingram, then what are your options? So,
And I will point
Right.
out too, you'll notice that James put the barcode in a different place, so you can do it. It doesn't have to stay in the back middle like they have it in the template. You can move the barcode to
Right.
something more appropriate.
Well, what I do is I also
aesthetically.
duplicated the image of the barcode.
Correct. That's what I
So
mean.
so I duplicated that, and then I can move that around on the book cover, and it just makes it easier to push it over to the corner.
okay. I was just asking for those people that might be watching you and listening to you and saying, okay, and they just tune you out because they don't know Photoshop. So what are the other options? So
Right.
I'll wait. I'll be patient and wait.
Okay, I could also do a thing on Photoshop one day. For people who don't know how to use Photoshop, I can do Photoshop. I have done lots of Photoshop. So
Okay,
uh,
we'll talk about that.
so we could do that too. All right. So once you get everything lined up and okay, and I delete the top cover, that pink layer. I delete that. And by the way, in that pink layer, let me go back to here. It tells you the instructions on how to set up your cover. This pink writing comes with it, and it tells you what the measurements are and what needs to be where. So it comes with instructions. So anybody who might be your cover artist could read that and know what they need to set up. All right, so jump ahead. Bam, I get rid of I just hit it here. The top one there, I clicked on the eye. So I hid that file and there you go. So that shows you what your cover will look like when it prints. Okay, let's see what's next. All right, so once you do the cover, now you're ready to upload your book. And so you start to add your title. And the book setup is pretty, they made this a little bit easier because it used to be a bunch of individual pages. So they made it more icon driven, which is a little bit easier to do, but it's also web driven. So some of the stuff don't take sometimes, so you might have to double check before you say you're finished because some of this information will take. This stuff usually is usually fine. So what you're doing is you're selecting the book type. Now you could do both print and ebook. And if you do them both together, it's $49 for one shot. If you do just the print book, it's also $49. If you do just an ebook, it's $25. So, but if you do them together, you could do a print and an ebook together at this for the one price of what it would cost you to do a print book. And then you tell it, do you have all your files ready to upload? You say yes. And then you click on down here, which would say you have the jacket and the interior ready to go. Which is why I told you, do your cover first before you get ready to upload, because it might take you a couple of days to do that cover. And you upload the file, and then you have to remember, oh yeah, I haven't got the cover yet, and you go back and it's just a waste of time if you don't have the cover ready to go when you're ready. Then you put that in, and then you say yes. And this is a new thing that they put in there, which is, what would you like to do with your book? You could put it out for worldwide distribution, or you can print it for yourself. And the difference is in the way that they market the book. If you print it for yourself, it doesn't show up online the same way. It will go out online. You will be able to find it online, but it's not the same way. It doesn't go through the same distribution channels and things like that. So if you're going to print the book for yourself and you're just going to print them and sell them yourself or whatever, then you choose that option, this option. But the better way to do it is just to do it for worldwide distribution. And you'll see later how that's going to get you a lot more coverage. Then you have the book title information, the title, and anything that's marked with an asterisk need to be filled in, of course. So you have your title, you have your language, you have your ISBN number. Even if you're doing an ebook, you really should have an ISBN number. Now with Amazon, they have their own system of numbers. They have an ASIN number, but that's only Amazon. So if you're going to sell it anywhere outside of Amazon, you're going to need an ISBN number. And I go to Bowkers and I buy them in bulk because it's cheaper. If you go through here, you don't have one, you can click on I don't have one. They will get you an ISBN number, which means they're going to go to Bowkers and get them, because Bowkers is the company that actually tracks and creates the ISBN numbers in the United States. I think the United States and Canada are done through Bowkers. And then you have your authors, you have your, now they ask you if you have the publication rights. That's a little something new. They used to not ask that, but now they ask if you have the publication rights to it. And then they have authors and contributors in there. And you start filling in this information. This is the information I said, check to make sure that it actually picks up and goes through. Now, the good thing about this is even after you publish the book, you can go back and change this information. So if it didn't pick up and didn't stick when you actually sent everything through, you go back, you check again, you find out, oh, my description didn't pick up or something else didn't pick up. You can go back and update it. It doesn't cost you anything. So then you go through, you get, like I said, contributors. Here you see Athena is the editor here, her information, book description information. So you have title description, you have your classifications over here, the categories that you put it in. They give you 3, they give you some other kind of category. So it's put in here before you upload any files. Then you have your keywords, And as you remember, Sandy, we were going through figuring out what keywords to put in. So you can put your keywords in here. They also give you a short description, which is just a couple of sentences or so. The longer descriptions, a few thousand bytes. Shorter descriptions, a few hundred bytes.
And the keywords there are, I can't stress how important they are. If you want somebody to ever find you, you got to be right on target with your keywords.
Right. And you know it's important because it has a red asterisk. They won't let you go up without putting keywords.
Mhm.
So it's very important that you have keywords. And all of these screens go one after another. So after you fill in the information, you click continue, you go on. You can also click save and exit at any point. So you don't have to do it all at once. You're working on something and you're the type of person that says, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write my descriptions and then I'll come back and I'll do this. You can save this because it saves itself in your setup, and it'll just come back on your dashboard. You'll see it on the setup incomplete. Then you can go back and you can fill it in and you can keep going. Okay. We're back to format information. Why are we back here? Oh, because of pricing. That's why we're back here. So the interior book cover information, and then this information must match what your cover template was. So that's why I say do the cover template before you even start any of this. Get your cover done, because it's very important that the page counts match and all that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure that all of that stuff is the same. And if you were guessing at how many pages you were going to have, and when you upload the file, you found out, oh, my file was wrong. It's not necessarily they will stop it from going through, but your book is not going to come out correctly if you put 10 or 20 pages extra into that book that you didn't account for the cover. And it might not even go through. They might tell you that there's an error with your formats and then you can't even get it through. Let's see, did I jump? Yeah, I jumped. So then pricing information. So here you can do just the first price in the United States, and it'll tell you what the rest of the price are for the different places. So the United Kingdom, European Union, your Canada, Australia, and then global. And this is when everybody tells me, hey, I found my book on Barnes and Noble. I found my book here. That's why, because Ingram is going to publish and make your book available in all these different markets and in all around the world. And this is where you see the 55% is the trade. It's the norm for the trade. Okay, so your 55% is what everybody says. And over here, third column is whether or not you're going to make your book returnable. Now, if you want to get into Barnes and Noble or you want to be picked up by bookstores, your book has to be returnable, because they're going to buy your book if they can return the unsold copies. Now, there are two different types of returnable. There's a yes, deliver, and there's a yes, destroyed. Now, if you say yes, deliver, that means any unsold copy they're going to send back to you. And actually they don't send them back to you. I think they send them back to Ingram.
And
but-
they do charge you for the shipping.
And they charge you for the shipping. Yes. So if you say, I'd rather not pay for the shipping, yes, destroy them. They don't actually destroy the book. What they do, they rip the cover off the book and they send back the cover to say, okay, these are the number of returns you had. But what you'll see sometimes, you go to these used bookstores and things like that, you'll find books that don't have covers on them. And the reason why they don't have covers on them, because they said, yes, destroy. So the bookseller ripped the cover off of them and they still sell your book. So I always put, in the United States, I put deliver. Outside the United States, well, Canada, I also put deliver. Outside the United States, in Europe and places like that, I put no. If they're going to sell it, if they know they're buying a book for the United States, they're going to have to sell the book or keep the book because I'm not paying the shipping to have it sent back. And I'll take my chances that the UK will pick up the book or not pick up the book. But it's like, if I have them deliver all these books back or whatever, it's going to be way too much money for the returns. So I'll take my chances that whoever buys them in the UK is going to keep them or at least sell them. So that's part of that. Then we get down to the and the global. These are the markets that they kind of like print in, but then they have a global. So your book will be on sale in China or in wherever, places that you probably would think, what? Well, why is it in China? Well, because there are people who speak English in China, or Chinese are trying to learn English. So they might buy your book so they can have something that they can read and teach people English. So it's not their actual market, but they do have contact with other companies and in other places. And the thing with Ingram is they also print in these places. They print books in the UK. They print books. The European Union are actually printed in England, in the UK, but they print them at the euro prices, not the British pound prices. So when you go and you start setting these things up and they start selling them, when you go to print the book, you can have the book printed in different places, like Australia. You can have it printed in Australia. One thing I found out from Ingram is if you ever look at the copyright page, you'll see the book in the copyright page, they used to have a line that said something like made in America, printed in America, something in America. The guy told me, take that out of your copyright. Because if you do that, you're going to wind up having to pay taxes or something in foreign countries. Because even though the book is not printed there, it says it is. So I take that out of my copyright. I don't say printed in the US because it may not be printed in the US. I have them printed in the UK. If it's going to be sold someplace in Europe. And therefore I don't have to pay all that price and all that kind of foreign exchange stuff. Okay, then you go to your print option, which is enable to look inside, which is a new option for them. So now you get the same look inside that you get from Amazon. You get the large print edition, which will make David very happy. So I found out that you just can't click that little checkbox and have it print in large edition. No, you actually have to format the book in large format with large fonts. So I was setting it up to do it and I went to click on it. And of course it's like, tells you, well, are you using a large font? I'm like, no, I thought you would be using a large font. But no, it doesn't work that way. You actually have to set it up. You're just telling them that this is a large format, a large print. And then you can also do right to left content. So if you're printing in Arabic, they read the opposite way. I think Hebrew is written in the opposite direction too, if I remember correctly. I think they read right to left, not left to right.
They do.
Yeah. So if you would write it in Hebrew, then you would click on that and then they know to print the book going the other way. And then you have your release date, your publication date, and your on sale date, which is really confusing. But this is the thing. Your publication date is the one that you have to put in. So when you pick a publication date, that's the date that book is going to be printed and ready by. So you can be sending this up months in advance or whatever, but that's the date you want that book to be published. Now, if you don't put in an on sale date, your on sale date is automatically your publication date. If you do put in an on sale date, then your on sale date becomes the date that people can buy the book, even though it hasn't been published yet. So it's sort of like your pre-sales. Your book is ready to be sold on that date, even though it's before the publication date. And some places recognize the pre-sale date, some places don't. It all depends on who's actually selling your book. I think David, his book went on pre-sale and people actually got it before the publication date because they went by the on sale date. They did not go by publication date. So that it was put out there on a pre-sale date, some places was able to go ahead and deliver that book before it was actually out for publication. So that's how they do their pre-sale. Okay, on to the next one. Now, this is where you actually upload the files. And the interior file is a PDF and the jacket file is a PDF. So when you do it, you go to upload the two files after you've done them and you click and you can drag and drop it, or you can click on it and tell it where to go find it on your computer. And then after that,
Can you back
It
up
go-
a second?
sure,
Now, if I have a file in PDF form that I sent to Amazon for the same size book I'm having printed at Ingram Spark, is there any difference in the actual formatting of the contents?
no. As long as you make your book, as long as you make that cover information and the book information the same, it'll be the same. So when you
Okay.
format the PDF file, if you're doing a 6x9,
Yeah.
it's going to be a 6x9.
Yeah, I got a client this week. She had an Ingram Spark hardcover, a paperback with Amazon, and an ebook. I've done the ebook. I've done the paperback for Amazon. And I said, I'm going to listen to you tonight and see if there's any special requirements for the contents for the Ingram Spark. But it sounds like all I do is take the exact same content that I'm putting in Amazon and just, send it to Ingram, send it to her in PDF form for her to put it into Amazon, into Ingram.
Yeah. Now, the thing I didn't like about doing the Amazon ebook, they don't give you the file back. So you don't get the EPUB file from Amazon. So I can't load it into Ingram. And to do an EPUB, an ebook, you have to send them an EPUB interior design.
Yeah, I've been working
Yeah.
on Scrivener this week, and I save it as an EPUB, tweak it, and then save it as a .mobi. So I have the original documents, and I put everything into Kindle that way.
Yeah. Now, what I usually do is I usually make my own EPUB file through InDesign. It was much easier doing it in Amazon because in Amazon you just send them the document and they format it and everything. If you go through InDesign to do it, you have to separate all your chapters out, make them InDesign files, and then stitch them all back together using InDesign. When you create the book, it puts them all back together. Then you export it as an EPUB.
Now, she sent me a copy of each of the files, the EPUB and the Ingram and the Amazon. But when I got the Amazon document, let's say it was a megabyte, the Ingram Spark was about half that size. It looked like the same document, but I don't know why the size of the document was so radically different.
It must be their compression, file compression
Okay,
that they do.
that would explain.
Yeah, that's, behind the scenes stuff. And what I did skip out of here, which I don't think is in here, is the verification. So when you upload that file, it's going to go through some verifications and they're going to check the metadata on the book that you put in there, which is why I tell you your book files have to match your cover files, because they're going to check against that. They're going to check your images to see if your images will be correct. They're going to check a couple other things on your metadata and on your file itself. And then it passes all these things, and then they say, okay, you're good to go.
Okay.
And then it does another check after they get all the files. So they'll do a preliminary check just to make sure that your files are formatted correctly when they get them. And if it doesn't pass that thing, you have to go back and find out why. And usually things
Basically,
like,
if it, so basically, if it passes Amazon, it should pass Ingram Spark as far as the contents go.
yeah, yeah. And then after that, when you send it up to them, then they'll do the regular format. And you'll get back a file that tells you, it's usually a PDF file that you get back, and you can go through there, and you can look at what's being printed and
Okay.
make sure that everything shows up correctly. Nothing's off the page, nothing been skewed left or right, things like that.
Well, it was worth the price of admission to hear that tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So then you upload all that guys up, and then you go through. The next one is, get over there, final payment. So here you see you uploaded it, and then it goes here, final payment. Like I said, it's pretty much $49 if you do both of them together, ebook and print book. And it doesn't matter which format you pick for your print book. It could be paperback, it could be hardcover. It's going to be $49. So it's pretty inexpensive to actually make a book. It's all the work that goes into making the book. Of course, that's, time consuming and
Well, that
and
makes
hard.
it worthwhile to have a publisher, right?
Yeah, that makes it worthwhile to have a publisher. So when people realize it's not that easy, and if you don't understand things like Photoshop in
Yeah.
order to make covers, or you don't understand, PDFs and how to do PDFs, and basically I don't edit the PDFs. I do them in Word or whatever, and then I export them to PDF. I can go in and edit PDF, but that is so much more of a pain to do, because when you look at a PDF document and you look at a book in PDF, everything's in little squares. And as you type and everything, those little squares move around. And it's easy to mess up that PDF file. It's better to go back into Word, reset stuff in Word, re-edit things in the Word, and then save it as a PDF file. And then it comes out formatted the way you want it.
Same thing applies when using Scrivener. Make all your edits in Word and then put it back in Scrivener. That makes everything so much easier.
Yeah, so I haven't used Scrivener yet because it's just one more program to learn.
Well, if you
So-
know Photoshop, that takes you a long way, especially, and then InDesign, those are the two. But the good thing is, there was a time when if you didn't know either one of those, you were just like, unless you had a publisher, you just could not publish. But they have made it a lot easier these days. But it's still, when you go through this and you see all that's required to get the book on Ingram Spark, then you do know the advantage of having a publisher, or having a publisher like you, James, that does everything, or having someone like Red who will do the pieces of it that you want done for you. So, or Amy's going to be doing some outsourcing, and so she'll be outsourcing to Red and other people that can help her with when she has her publishing bundles that she'll be talking about.
All right. Well, Amy, if you want to reach out to me, then we can work out something.
Don't worry.
Because like I said, we did about 6, 7 books before we touched anybody else's. So simple things like for Night Kisses, we wound up printing the cover and we misspelled night. I left out the N and didn't realize it. So now we are double checking every little nook and cranny, everything, everywhere, because you upload the file, they get printed.
And so one of the things that happened during our 12 days of holiday giving was Julie. She was showing pictures of her children's book that we were having a launch for, when somebody pointed out to her that there was a misspelled word on the cover. Good thing is, she is the publisher. She could go back and make that change and redo it. So so that worked great. But it is nice when you're the publisher and you have those kind of things that happen to you.
Yep. But just make sure you find the mistake before you say everything's okay, because
Oh,
at
yeah,
Ingram, they're gonna
absolutely.
charge you $25 anytime you make a change
Well,
to
you know
your
what?
book.
That's a minimal amount to have to
Yes,
pay
it
to
is.
correct something.
Yes, it
The
is.
thing about what happened with me is I had proofread the book so many times, but I was proofreading the title page. The title page,
Uh-huh.
the title page. And we, just like James is saying, we put the cover together, but it was after everything else was done. So, and then I had to give something to y'all to put up on that 12 days of holiday giving thing. So I gave the cover. Nothing had been printed yet. This was all pre-order, pre-sale state. But thank goodness it was Amy. Amy said, there's something missing here. And there was. There was just one letter missing, but from the cover, not from the title page.
I
So
wasn't sure who saw it. All I
it was
know is
Amy.
I had to go back.
Amy saw it.
Yeah, I
Because
had
I
to go back.
I put it up there and I said, I put on the chat line, I said, please take a look at my cover. I would appreciate any feedback, positive, fine, negative, you might want to send it to me privately. I said, that's what I did. Only, one person said, oh, it looks great. And Amy came back and said, I think you're missing a letter. So, it's just, again, having multiple people look at something before you actually publish it.
And I want you to recognize that, having James be the expert here on the Ingram stuff and doing it. So we all know it needs to be done. We've all paid somebody to do it. But having James as the expert to go through this with us tonight, and having, all of the feedback that we've gotten over the past few weeks and months, as every one of you really been hitting the publishing trail heavy, it's been great to get the feedback. And so that's one of the advantages of having a group like this, where not only is it educational at times, it's also the marketing, it's also the fun. I mean, we had a lot of fun with the 12 days of holiday giving. It was tiring, it was long, it was a long 12 days. However, it was just fun the whole time. So so I really appreciate the support that you guys give each other. And so we're going to go into in the new year helping with the marketing, the bookstores when they start opening back up, events. I'm going to get in touch with the Houston Public Library, with the person that that Julie gave me the contact information. So so as a group, we can accomplish more than you guys can individually, and you don't feel like you're doing it alone all the time. So James, I know I cut you off. What were you done? Was that the end of your presentation?
Yeah, that was the end of the presentation. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question for James.
go ahead.
So I put my first book on Ingram Spark, absolutely no problem with the paperback. I always get a copy myself. I look at it, I make sure it's okay and so forth, no problems. Then we put my first book in hardcover, and when the proof copy came from that, it's not really a proof copy. They won't give you a proof copy, but you have to get this.
They would. They would.
They'll give you a file proof. They will not give you an actual physical.
No, you can get an actual physical copy. I don't know what they charge you for it, but you can have a printed copy sent to you.
It's
as a
got to be
proof.
already open for, I just went through this, so believe me, I know. It has to be already open for publishing, and then you can, just like anybody else, get one copy, which I did. And when I got the one copy, the black and white photos, in contrast to the paperback, the black and white photos looked horrible. I mean, they're not horrible. They're not very good. They're grayed out. And believe me, I have spent months trying to get Ingram Spark to do something. And the problem is when you look at the files, because you can look at a file proof. When you look at the files look fine. But when you get the actual printed copy, they're not fine. So the first response from Ingram Spark was, we have a lot of different printers, which is a new for me information. And some printers are better than other printers. And maybe just this printer didn't do a good job on the photos. And I've spent months since then trying to get them to fix it. And then one night on our show, I saw Sandy had already ordered a copy of the hardback, and she had it and she was showing it. And I said, my goodness, people are buying these copies, which I consider not the high quality which I would like. So, but I needed copies myself, so I went ahead and ordered some, and I still have not managed to get Ingram Spark to fix this issue. And
You may
it's
have to
not our
send them a new
files.
file. You may have to send them a new file. You may have to up the DPI, the dot per inch, the resolution of the file.
We did that
because-
too, and it still hasn't solved the problem.
What did you increase it to?
I have an IT guy and he does that
Oh,
stuff for me. I can't tell
okay.
you myself, but we tried lots of different combinations to try to improve. You know, he thought, oh, maybe he'd made an error somehow. But the paperback copy, as I said, the paperback copy was fine. It's the
And they do
hardcover.
print, yeah, and they do print them on different printers. When I ordered the paperback and I ordered the hardcover, they come from 2 different places. So they are printed on different printers in different places. My suggestion would be to make sure that your images are 300 DPI. They say it could be like 150 for black and white and gray color scale. They tell you all these different things like gray scale and whatever. I just make sure they're all like 300.
No, at least 300.
Yeah, at least 300.
I'm sorry, I had
Uh,
been talking that whole time with you, James, and I was on mute and I didn't realize. Yeah, the hardback copies are going to come from different printers and different paper even. It's going to be a
Yeah.
completely different thing. So it's got to be at least, especially hardbacks, got to be 300 DPI, if not higher.
Yeah. And
So anyway, the other thing just to mention, and this is again my experience, and it's limited. It's only 2 versions of one title. That is the paperback and then the hardcover. Their customer service is not very good. It's not very good at all. They don't. I mean, granted, this is all going on from September to December, which is high season for them. They always say we're really backlogged. We have a lot of people. Blah blah blah.
it's even
but-
worse now because of COVID.
Right.
It's
Does
just
Amazon not
good.
play? Does Amazon not play a middleman of any kind? Because I feel really fortunate if not, because Drive-Thru RPG is totally the middleman for me, and they deal with Ingram Sparks, and I get wonderful service.
Amazon
But that's
does
because
not.
they're
No,
Amazon
Amazon
doesn't?
does not with Ingram. No, not with Ingram.
wow.
Oh,
Amazon buys from Ingram Spark because
Correct.
they're selling my hardcover and they got it from Ingram Spark, not from me.
Correct.
right.
So
I do-
they,
But Amazon doesn't act as a middleman ever.
No.
I do want to note that it is 10 after, so if anybody needs to go, if anybody wants to stay with the conversation, I'm good, but it just let you know that you're welcome to leave and we won't talk bad about you after you're gone, so.
and the
We're talking
last
bad about
thing I
you, Red.
the last thing I want to mention is that Ingram
Bye,
Spark
Roger.
actually has a community that you can join for new, it's mainly for individuals that are self-publishing, but I follow that and see what people.
If I
are
could find the guy's name, I'll find the guy's name that I know with Ingram. And he may not be there because it's been a couple of years since I had to actually go there and find somebody and just talk to them about how things are working. But yeah,
That's great. I've talked with, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 different people, because every time you go back and say, you haven't answered my question, it's been a month. There's been no response to my question. It's been a month. It'll be a different person comes on.
their
And-
name and tell them that you want to speak to that person, that they know your problem. And this helps with any type of thing when you
Yes.
get any help desk. Find the person name in help desk, ask the person for their name and tell them, if it's not resolved, I want to speak to you. I'm going to call back. I'm going to ask for you. I work for help desk, so I know that works.
Well, this is usually, they won't even answer the phone. You have to leave your number and then they never call you back. So I just do the email, the chat line kind of thing. But anyway, I mean, I'm forced to do that because you never get an answer. They will never call you back.
Now it's even
And
harder
it-
because of COVID. Now it's harder because of COVID. I did get
it's
people calling back.
impossible. It's not harder. It's been impossible. My very first request was, I want to talk to a technical guy. I want a technical person to look at this because it's a technical issue. It's not a customer service rep issue. It's a technical issue. To this day, and I'm talking about months later, there's never been, as far as I know, a technical person to try to figure out why their print copy is so bad. And it's it's a hardcover. It's not like
Well, like Jeremy said, the hardcover paper and
It's different.
everything is completely different between a hardcover and a paperback. Because well, for the hardcover, you're getting thicker paper, the ink is different that they're
If
using.
you pick
as
glossy
opposed to-
pages, it just
Yeah,
totally.
and it also depends upon your picture. Like you said, if it's glossy, if it's color print, I'm assuming you're doing color.
Black and white.
The
Black
ones
and
she's
white.
having
Black and white.
issues with are black and white. And that's where it's tricky and the DPI needs to be really high, especially if it's old pictures. That means they might have to be rescanned if they just weren't high enough DPI. I mean, scan them at like for my cover and stuff, I did 600 DPI. I did double it. I want to make sure that stuff looks clean.
Now, see, the only pictures I put in the book is my logo and my
Mine
author
is fully illustrated, so it's
yeah,
got it.
yours are fully illustrated. I deal with just the picture, the author picture. And David, if your picture comes out a little grainy, I'm sorry, but you look better in person anyway.
I started out trying to have my book in color, but the price, I mean, this is back when I
Price
was
is
just
even-
looking at
yeah.
Amazon. The price just made it not possible. So I went to all of my photos in black and white.
And I use color photos and put them in there, knowing that they're going to become grayscale. So I'll take the color
Yeah,
photo,
sometimes it,
high
yeah, sometimes
resolution,
it's better.
put them in there, and I know they're going to print them in black and white anyway, because I tell them it's black and white, and it comes out to be a better picture. They send me a little notice saying when I put the book up, one of the things they always tell me is, hey, you have images that are not going to look good. Do you want to redo them or you want us to do them? And I just say, click, click, you do them, because I know it's just the picture of the author picture or stuff like that. And they'll come out looking okay. It might be a little darker. I try to pick the best, brightest picture I can, because I know it might come out a little darker and things like that. But like I said, now it's really hard to get them online because of the fact that they're still shut down in most places. In fact, I found out that it's easier to print in the UK and Australia, although Australia now they're changing over to a new factory somewhere. But it's easier to print in Australia. I can get the book printed in 9 days in the UK as opposed to a month here. So we're still way behind here. And mostly it's because of COVID and the fact that I guess their factories are closed down for the most part.
James, that was a great job. Thank you very much for doing that. Appreciate it. And so I think you answered all the questions. So we will see you guys. Are you going to do the mastermind on Friday, Amy?
No, there's no mastermind on Friday.
Okay, so no mastermind this week and no next Monday night for Christmas week. So we'll see you guys the Monday after Christmas. What is that, the 28th,
The
Amy?
28th.
Okay. We'll see you on the 28th. Have a great, great holiday. Love you.
Happy Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.